and ultimate NFL predictions episode. We have gone through the AFC East and the NFC East in episode 1. We've gone for the AFC West and the NFC West in episode 2. We've gone for the AFC North and the NFC North in episode 3. Here today, we're going to be going over the AFC South and the NFC South. I'm going to be making my official playoff predictions today. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be giving you my NFL award predictions for the season. To start out, we're almost done. As always, we're in collaboration with the one, the only Voltage Live. My social media links are in the description below. A quick reminder that out of the AFC East, I have the Buffalo Bills winning. Out of the AFC West, I have the Chiefs winning the division, but I have the Chargers and Raiders as wild cards. In the AFC North, I have the Bengals division, Baltimore wild card. That leaves one playoff team left. In the AFC South, that playoff team I have being is the Houston Texans. I have them at 10-7, easily winning this division over the Jaguars at 6-11, the Colts at 6-11, and the Titans at 6-11. So put any of those three teams in any order you want. I think the only chance the Texans have to not win this division is if Cam Ward comes out of nowhere and becomes the best quarterback in this division. Nico Collins is finally healthy. Now, they no longer do have Tank Dell, but they brought in those two wide receivers out of Iowa State. They did move up Worley Tunsil, which, listen, the Texans' offensive line was bad last year. I don't expect it to be any better this year. C.J. Stroud went for a little bit of a sophomore slump. Texans are going to blame the offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick. He moves on. We'll see if they're right on that. But they do have Nico Collins. They do have Joe Mixon. But I think this team is going to be won mostly by their defense, right? Derek Stingley, Al Shire, Will Anderson Jr., Daniil Hunter. I think that defense is going to be pivotal to not let C.J. Stroud be in shootouts, to let them give the ball to Joe Mixon, to let them sort of run the ball, take the pressure off the offensive line. And again, I think they have easily the best quarterback in the division. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, who they do have Brian Thomas out of LSU, obviously. Trevor Lawrence is still there. Travis Etienne is still there. William Cohen replaces Doug Peterson as head coach. But obviously, the storyline is all about what Travis Hunter's going to do. Reportedly, he's going to start out on offense, and they're going to give him some packages on defense. Many people think he could be the offensive and rookie, players of the year on both sides of the ball. I actually don't think he's going to be either of those, because I don't think he's going to get enough snaps really to make an impact on either side of the ball. Listen, I think Travis Hunter could be a generational talent. I thought he was going to be more so of a corner in the NFL than a wide receiver. Now, in this draft, he was probably worth the number 2 overall pick. I didn't think in a strong enough draft he's worth the number 2 overall pick. I'm just not sure on his value. I think Brian Thomas is a better wide receiver than him. And with William Cohen, who will sort of resurrect Baker Mayfield's career down there in Tampa Bay, along with Dave Canales. Obviously, we know what Liam Cohen did last year with that Jaguars offense with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and what they're doing down there. He's trying to replicate that in Jacksonville, and I get it. Tampa ran the ball over the more than they did in the past couple of years, so I do expect Travis Etienne to get more of a workload. I just don't know if I can trust Trevor Lawrence. I don't know what happened to the Jaguars. Where a couple of years ago, they started out 8-3. It was C.J. Stroud's rookie year. They were easily leading the division. And then Trevor Lawrence suffers an ankle injury. And since that moment, the Jaguars have won a total of 4 games over the past, 17, over the past 25 games, so like 4-21. And the Doug Peterson era ended in disaster. And their defense is still bad. Outside of Josh Hines Allen, they don't really have any names really at all. Trayvon Walker's been a bust as a number 1 overall pick. It's a new regime. Obviously, we know that, but I think it's still a work in progress for Jackson. In Indianapolis, obviously, it's sad about the passing of Jim Irsay, the owner, but Jim was impulsive the last few years. I do think the Colts are eventually going to get more stable ownership in there. I like Chris Ballard, the GM. I think he's built a good roster. Obviously, their offensive line is still good. Their defensive line, led by DeForest Buckner, Quinny Pay, they still got Kenny Moore in the secondary. You got pieces there. Michael Pittman is still a very good wide receiver there. I love Tyler Warren, the tight end. I think he's going to have a very Brock Bowers impact for the Colts, the way Bowers did for the Raiders. But just like Brock Bowers and the Raiders last year, we don't know who the Colts quarterback is. Anthony Richardson has looked bad so far in preseason. Daniel Jones is nothing special. I like Shane Steichen. We'll see if he can work his magic with the quarterback he's got. But I think the Colts have a ceiling on him. Again, I think they can win 8-9 games. I like this roster a lot. Theoretically, they should be able to challenge Houston for the division a lot like Jacksonville. You just don't trust what they have at the quarterback position. And the Titans. Now, do I think Cam Ward is going to have a Jaden Daniels-esque year? No, I do not. I think it's going to be closer to Drake May than it is going to be Jaden Daniels, where it's like you're going to see some signs from Cam Ward. I do think Cam Ward's got an offensive coach in Brian Callahan. I think that helps. I think there's going to be reason for optimism for Tennessee. But their wide receiver core, now that Treylon Burks is no longer there, is like the cast of misfits. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, not a true dominant number one guy, and Tony Pollard's a decent back. But they still need to completely rebuild that defense. They still need to completely rebuild the offensive line. I think Cam Ward is going to be running for his life. And so I think this Tennessee team is going to look a lot like Carolina did at the end of last year, which was they got the receiver Xavier again. They had Chuba Hubbard. Bryce Young started playing better as the year went on. There was reason for optimism for 2025 with this Carolina Panthers team, but they weren't there yet. I think we're going to say the same thing about this Tennessee Titans team. Now, what I think would be great for the NFL is Cam Ward, the number one pick out of Miami, Florida, comes out of nowhere. The Texans regress a little bit. Tennessee becomes a new playoff team. They win the AFC side. But I don't think that's happening. And so by my predictions, by the way, spoiler alert, I do have a rematch of the wild card round from last year's wild card round in the same place. Chargers at the Texans. Now, for the NFC South, I think the Bucs easily win this division. I love the addition of Njigba out of Ohio State, the receiver they took in the first round. From all the metrics, he's the most NFL-ready wide receiver to come into this draft. And Chris Godwin's been a little bit slow coming off that injury. They still have Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield has found his home down there in Tampa Bay. We know, obviously, what Bucky Irving and Rashard White can do out of the backfield. We know Todd Bowles is going to coach the hell out of the defense. The Bucs are just going to be a really good, solid, underrated team. Very much like the Texans over in the AFC. For Atlanta, listen, if you believe Michael Penix is the real deal, they could win 10 games. They could win the division. They swept Tampa Bay last year. Remember, I kept saying it with Kirk Cousins, who somehow is still there in Atlanta, that they had a 4-game lead on Tampa. They had a three-game lead, plus they swept them head-to-head, and they somehow lost the division to the Bucs. So keep that in mind. They went out. They obviously drafted the 2 pass rushers. They go and they trade for the other pass rusher out of Tennessee. They give a first-round pick next year to the Rams, which I did not get at all. But this is a team in Atlanta that has been unable to rush the passer for years. Jeff Ulbrich was a very good defensive coordinator when he was with the Jets. He was obviously not a very good interim head coach. But again, like Matt Eberflus in Dallas, like Dennis Allen in Chicago, I think it's an upgrade for Atlanta on that side of the ball. I'm not a big believer in Kyle Pitts. I don't believe this report. This is finally going to be Kyle Pitts' breakout year. I've heard that forever. And so, no, I don't buy that. Listen, I think the Falcons are just a pretty, 7-8 win team. Nothing special. Drake London's going to have a good year. Darnell Mooney's going to have a good year. Michael Penix's going to have an okay year. And the Falcons are just going to Falcon. Now, I mentioned for the Panthers There's a reason for optimism. They bring in Ted McMillan along with Xavier Leggett, two big-time wide receivers for Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard's a very good back. I think Bryce Young made significant strides last year once he came off the bench after getting benched for Andy Dalton. After early on in the year, it looked like he did not belong in the NFL. My problem for Carolina is, ask yourself this. Could they be better than Atlanta? Yeah, they could. Are they better than Tampa, even though they should have beat them last year in Carolina? No, I don't think they are. That's just their division. Ask yourselves this. Are they better than Philly? No. Are they better than Washington? No. Are they better than the Rams? No. Are they better than the Niners? No. Are they better than Green Bay? No. Chicago? No. Detroit? No. And I think it's close between, Minnesota, Dallas, Arizona, I think is better than them, though some people would obviously debate. I'm just saying there's a lot of better teams in the NFC than the Panthers. Like, I think at the very best, if you take out Atlanta, if you take out Tampa, Philly, Washington, the Rams, Detroit, Chicago, Green Bay, they're the 8th best team. So could they win 8-9 games? Like, I don't think they're better than Arizona. And I think it's a real debate whether they're better than the likes of Minnesota and Atlanta. Now, I do think they'll run up there with Cowboys. So, I think they're probably the 10th or 11th or 12th best team in the NFC, which is why I have them only at 6 and 11, though I like what they're starting to build down there in Carolina. And then this will easily be the worst team in the league. Tyler Shiloh will get killed. Kellen Moore's in a real rebuild. They have no pieces. They're a waste of energy. I don't even need to talk about them. I give them 2 wins to New Orleans Saints.
Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.